Hi, everybody. Welcome to the Life Mystery School. Crazy world we're living in right now. And as you can tell, some things are not quite right and they'll get better. A lot of upset people, but our solar system's changing and the energies are changing. So it's bringing a lot of turmoil out in people. So some people are becoming more aware and some people are having trouble dealing with the energies that are here. But there's some things that we need to talk about, because our perceptions are developed when we're very young. And some of them we bring from our past traumas and some we carry into this life. Others we develop as we grow as children. These become our operating systems in life. Sometimes I call them blueprints, okay, which I picked up from Tony Robbins. And according to Dr. Joe Dispenza, over 50% of our childhood memories are made to fit our story, which means that these memories aren't real. They're how we perceive things to fit what we believe already in our minds. So we'll discuss that. We will discuss the limits that we put on ourselves and on other people. We'll discuss the needs of people. This is going to be a couple of different videos where we go into this. We're going to go into how people perceive things, how to communicate with those people, how their needs fit into where their consciousness level is, and how our consciousness levels tie into the spiritual realms. Because the spiritual realms are something that most people don't talk about. And there's different levels, and they tie in with our consciousness levels of what we think and how we relate to the world. I will tell you some stories along the way. So at first, we're just going to start with some basics. So bear with me because I'm doing this by myself. So I do have to share the screen and stuff on our own. So we're going to go to a whiteboard right here. And the first thing I want to talk about is, how do you perceive yourself? Who are you? What are you? Okay, there's some very simple things. So first, let's see if this actually writes. And of course not, it is not writing. So we're going to freeze. I guess we'll have to cut this out. We'll stop share for now. And stop recording. Well, now that I have it working right, helps if you have the right pen. I'm new to the whiteboard. So many people think of that they're a man, that they're a woman. And I've done this before. And I actually had a teacher in college. His name was Hal Bogelub, that taught us this, taught this idea. And it took me a while to figure it out. So we're going to write man so we can actually read it, okay? And then we go into, we could be gay, or we think of ourselves as straight. And our careers are a big part of it. Oh, we're still on that, so let's go back to draw. So we do man again. We're gay. Some people say that they're straight. There's many others. And then our careers, okay? So you could be a salesman. Okay, you could be a teacher. You could be a lawyer. Many other things, okay? So basically we're going to put your occupation, okay? Is this the main part of your life? Many of us are parents, so you're a mother, your father, grandmother or grandfather, okay, we'll leave it blank. Your son, your daughter. You could be a caregiver. Okay, and then you can get into the races. You can get anywhere. But the fact is that we don't look at ourselves at any given time as all this. We forget that we're all this. So when you become a mother, say, now you're a mother all the time. You forget that you are a lover, that you're a spouse, that you can still be a daughter, and all these other things. And when we start putting ourselves in a box, this is what happens, is when we do these things, we put ourselves in a box. And when we put ourselves in a box, it's very hard for other people to relate to us. Because when other people can relate to us, that's how we get along. And when you look in today's society, there are many people who are in a box and do not know how to relate to the person in another box. We forgot the poor lawyer here. Well, they swim with the sharks anyway, right? So if you are looking at yourself and saying, well, I am this, well, how do you relate to somebody who says, I am that? When we look at ourselves as a whole, then there's a major change in our perception. So instead of looking at someone as just one, a perfect example, let's take a cashier in a store, okay? You're angry because you had to wait in line or anything, and you take it out on the cashier. Well, that's somebody's son or daughter. It could be somebody's parent. They are so much more than just the cashier. But at that moment, when you're taking your anger out on them, you are putting them in a box that this is all they are. This is somebody that you're going to take your frustration out on because you're forgetting that they are the same as you, just a different path. And this causes major problems in our society. And so when we do this, how do we relate? You know, you have the book, Men Are From Mars and Women Are From Venus, okay? All right? But how do you relate between these things other than how you look at yourself? Now, let's back up a little bit when we talk about this. I don't need to share the screen anymore. We'll get into some other things. So some of you have been in the military and you'll understand this. In order for a soldier to survive, he has to think of certain ways about people. So when you think of people in certain ways, it makes it easier to defend yourself. So basically, if you go back to World War II, you were a Yank, okay? You're a Brit, you're a Kraut, you're a Jap, okay? So this way, if you needed to kill somebody while defending yourself, you didn't think that, you know, this person is a father, a son, there's somebody's spouse. You don't think about all those things because you put them in this little box. And when you put them in the box, it's easier to take aggression out on them. And our society is designed that way. Yes, it's on purpose. And it's to divide people, okay? We need to be united. And in order to be united, we have to change the way we think about ourselves and the way we think about other people. So when you look at what's done in the military, you desensitize the soldier so it's easier for them to kill because they need to survive and to get the goal. So we as a society have been desensitized and have dehumanized people. When you look at all the different racial terms, and there's been racial terms for centuries, okay? When the Irish came here, when the Italians came here, when everybody came here, there was some sort of term that they used with them, and then they got put into a box and they were dehumanized because they weren't the same. So it doesn't matter. It's done all the time. And until we start thinking of everybody, of how they are and who they are and what they are, we're not going to change. And we do this with ourselves. So we get back into here. So the bottom line is, what am I? Yeah, when we look at what are we? You know, Some of you will say your career, you're a man, you're a woman, and this has been done. I've done this. I had one person say they were small. And yeah, when you look at the world, we are pretty small. But then also one person can do an awful lot because we're also pretty powerful. Okay. If you're from another country, then you would put in another country from here. But we're all Americans. Okay. Most of these videos are going to be played in the US. So I'm an American. We all have something in common if we focus that we are Americans. We may not agree on certain ways to get to the destination, but there are many things that we all can agree on as Americans. Okay, protecting our country, taking care of our air, taking care of our water, protecting our children. We may not agree on how to protect our children, but if you look at the main focus that we will protect our children, it makes a big difference in how we perceive each other and how we communicate with each other. If you put somebody in that political box that either you're on the left or the right, the other person is the enemy and they're desensitized. What's happened is the people in the middle that have a lot of cross ideals have been eliminated because you're either way left or you're way right. But most of America is in the middle because we can all agree on 80 to 90% of the ideals. But the media makes it so that we can't agree because all they do is focus on the huge differences. And that's what divides us as people. We have to focus on our commonalities. So let's start with that we're an American, okay, and the things that we want for America. Okay, we're a citizen of the planet Earth. We're Earthlings. Now we just eliminated the country borders, that we're all here. So everybody wants to have certain things. They want security. They want clean water. They want food. They want their children to get educated. Now, some countries, all they're trying to do is get their next meal. And in this country, we're so spoiled because we have everything we want. And people say they're poor, yet they have cell phones and they have clothes and they have food and they have a roof over their head. There's many homeless, and that needs to be addressed. But for the majority of people, we are in a very, very good position for the rest of the world compared to the rest of the world. Okay, if you believe that we're not alone. I'm a human being. Okay, we're all human beings. We all have feelings. We all have needs. We all have desires. So let's focus that we're all human beings. Now, if you're very set in your views, you're not going to like the next part, okay? But some people don't seem like they're human, but they're still human, going through an experience and going through a growth. We may hate what they do. We may not like their perceptions, but still they're human beings and they have to be treated in such a way. And most of our laws are designed to treat people like they're human. Not all countries do this, but most of our laws. Okay, we are soul. I don't care what religion you are. I'm not here to teach religion. That's a different time. We'll talk about spiritual things. But we're soul. And as soul, we all are equal. These bodies that we're in are a temporary thing. So people think that this flesh and blood is the permanent. Okay, this is the image. This isn't the image, okay? It's what's inside. And if we connect with our inner guides, we will learn to see things differently. And you'll start seeing the big picture of why things happen. And if you don't believe that your soul, that's okay. Stop at being a human being, all right? It's pretty hard to say we're not human beings because we are. Okay, and when we change our focus to our commonalities versus our differences, we will change our world one person at a time. If you look at everybody in the world differently, you will see things differently. and they will see things differently. I've already said some of this, that we all want the same things in life, okay? And when we focus on what we want, then we can work together. When we focus on the differences, we have the riots, the fights, and all that. I'll repeat, many people are not extreme in their views. They're middle of the road, okay? If we stop dehumanizing people, we can eliminate the Great Divide in the country and the world and change the world we live in. But as long as we're divided, and this is a planned divide, it is done on purpose, and the media does it on purpose, to keep us divided, because if we worked together, we could change everything. For those of you that believe we are soul, okay, we are soul and a human body. We are not human with the soul body. This body that we chose for the lessons that we learn in this life is for a reason. And everybody chose the body that they're in for the lessons that is going to teach them. So we are all equal. Maybe this time around somebody's richer, prettier, or something, but they have their own lessons that they're trying to learn in those things. And some of the greatest hardships create the biggest lessons. And the easy lives are the ones that are easily to be corrupted, because they have it too easy and they don't know how to earn something. And we're all bound by the human experience and the emotions while we're here. We're all equal. As soul, we're all equal, but we still have different life experiences. We have our own paths of growth that we must follow, and we chose these paths. We're all subject to the laws of karma. Some of you know the laws of one, okay, which are basically the laws of karma. We must learn to have empathy for our fellow man and animals, because animals feel, whether you want to believe it or not. And we will repeat our mistakes until we learn our lessons. That's the biggest thing, is when somebody says, why does this keep on happening to me? It's because you haven't learned your lesson. You haven't learned to change things. And we have total control to change what happens to us in life, but we have to change our perceptions and how we look at things and what we attract. It's like a puddle of water. Okay, take still water. You have a still pond, okay? And you take a rock. You drop the rock into the water, and it sends vibrations out. Okay, so all our thoughts, all our feelings are sending out these vibrations. So let's take that cashier we're talking about. Okay, so if I go into the store and I make the cashier laugh, and I give them a good feeling, and now the next 100 people that they interact with, because they're in a good mood, sends out these positive ripples, and those 100 people send out positive ripples, and everybody's sending out positive ripples, all because of this one interaction. Not only does that bring me good karma, I mean, it's not just karma from the cashier, it's karma from all of that rippling going on. Now let's say I was mean, miserable, because there's many miserable people in their lives, and they're stuck in here. And that's why they're miserable, is because they're so stuck in their heads and they're not following their inner guides and their intuition. So now that rock that hit the puddle and sent out all those ripples is negative. And that person was angry and upset and took it out on the next 100 people that came to them. And now those people are upset and angry about their experience. And then they went and sent those negative vibes going through the world. Think of the difference in the world if you're sending out positive vibes, and everybody you come into contact with is sending out positive vibes. And it's giving love, okay? There's many forms of love. And one way to giving love is just a smile, to be kind, to be pleasant, to have empathy for somebody. So if I give love, and everybody else gives love, it just totally changes the whole situation. Now, if you're giving negativity, that totally changes the situation also. So we need to understand and relate to other people at a different level than we're accustomed to. So everybody has some needs. And I'm not going to go into a lot of different things here, but we're going to go into a couple. So we're going to go into people's needs. So let me go into the share screen. What am I? The 6 human needs. There we are. Let's do our slideshow. Start from the beginning. So what drives people to do the things that they do? Why do they do it? One of them is certainty. And people create certainty in different ways. And some people, they do it in a positive way, and some people do it in a negative way. Okay, so security is part of certainty. If you need to be married, some people use control. Okay, the only way they can be certain is by if they control everything, and that's certainly not a positive way to do it. They need to see it in writing. Your faith, whatever you believe, is fine. It's because it's right for you. Okay, but life is always changing, and right now we are in for people that need certainty and really thrive on certainty. There's a problem because there is no certainty in today's society. Because right now, we're locked in, or we're in lockdown, starting to come out. We don't know what's going on. There's riots going on. Okay, but other people need variety in their lives. They like to go out and do things. They don't like routines. They like to be spontaneous. Okay, maybe they don't want to be with just one person. Okay, so what happens when one person needs certainty and another person needs variety in their lives? How do they relate to each other? How do they interact with each other? That can cause a lot of problems. And if you meet 4 or more of these needs of another person, they are happy in the relationship. And when a person has all 6 met, then they are extremely content, extremely happy, and in a different stage of life. If somebody's looking to find these, then they are not happy. They're content. They're miserable. They're trying to force things. So significance. Okay, do you need to feel needed? Well, some people feel significant by joining a cause. Okay, some people have their own causes in life. Okay, are you proud that you're unique? You know, tattoos, piercings, hair color. Okay, homes, designer clothes. Okay, I'm not saying they're all good and they're all bad. Okay, these are just ways people find significance. Okay, do you tear down others to make yourself look better? Do you have somebody in your life that tears you down to make themselves look better? Do you need to prove things? Okay, ego. A lot of people live in ego, which is part of being significant. Okay, do you withhold things to make yourself important? Okay, do you withhold love from somebody? Okay, what is it that you do to create significance in your life? Opposite significance is love and community. Okay, there's bonding, there's sharing, there's intimacy, there's teamwork. What happens when one withholds love to feel significant and the other needs love for a connection? Not a good relationship. Okay, we can get into that also. And 2 things that most people are missing in their lives. They need to feel fulfilled, which you get from growth and contribution. Okay, life is one challenge after another. We need to meet these challenges in order to grow. How do you grow? How do you increase your knowledge and where you are? Are you just in the same routine and you're stuck in that routine and nothing ever changes? We need to take responsibility in our lives to feel fulfilled. Are you a victim or are you taking responsibility? Okay, we're here to help our fellow man. How are you contributing to society? This is the biggest secret to fulfilling in life, is to give people what they need. And in return, we get what we need. So we are here to help our fellow man. And that doesn't mean go and give everything away, okay? Because money is not everything. So if you give love to others, a kind word and show a smile is showing love. Be kind, always be kind. Set an example. I belong to 6 different community organizations. I've given my time, money for decades, helping people. I've sent a little girl to school that lived in Ecuador. 10 years I sponsored her to go to school, sponsored her to go to university. Unfortunately, societal pressure, she dropped out. So that's where it ended. But these are things that we really, really need to address in our lives. Now, a little story of a friend of mine. Okay, she's a good friend, and she's in a community group. And she and 2 other ladies started a group. And in that group, it was, they helped people that had cancer, okay, because this woman had cancer 30 years ago or something like that. And they started a group because it was her contribution to other people. So she was helping people. And then she started a community because all these other people started helping these people. She became a very significant person in thousands of people's lives, whether they knew it or not. She's been honored, okay? But she became significant by giving love, by contributing, and starting a community. She didn't become significant by buying a bigger house, a fancier car, or any other way that could bring people down to make yourself look better. She became significant because she's helped thousands and thousands and thousands of people and families of these people that have cancer. She actually is one of the founders of the nation's largest free counseling center for cancer families. So when you go through life and you're trying to feel important, I want you to think about how you feel important. Do you feel important because you have a fancy purse? You think you're better than somebody else? You're not better. You're just a different life this time. Imagine if you had to redo it based upon what you do now. Okay, might make you think twice about how you live your life. And give back to people. I will, let's see, we'll jump into it because we have a little time here. So let's go into levels of consciousness and people's significance. Do the slideshow from the beginning. So Tony Robbins teaches this concept, and he said some things that I've always wanted to talk to him about, but that's okay. Tony says that most people see themselves 2 levels higher than they really are in the levels of consciousness. So survival, basic instincts. This is the most basic. We're born with this, okay? People are in survival mode. And when they're... All right, I will pull. Hi, everybody. Yeah, my son came down. He was going out for a motorcycle ride. It's a decent day, and he's off. So sorry it took me a little bit to get back and get this going. So going into what we're talking about, we're talking about levels of consciousness. So let me get into my slideshow for levels of consciousness. And we're going to start from the beginning. So survival mode. Everybody has survival mode. This is what you know as fight or flight. So pretty much you either have a survival instinct that you freeze which is not always good, or you have a survival instinct where you'll do anything to get away. When military personnel and police and other people get into tough situations, and it can be rescue workers and paramedics and all that, when you get into a survival situation, they've trained heavily to get beyond basic instincts so they can function, because generally when you're in survival mode, you have gross motor skills. So with all the self-defense I've taken, they teach you to get beyond the gross motor skills. And on some of the tactical training, it's like your worst day on the range will be your best day when you are in gross motor skills. And so that's why you want to train to a certain level. So you have to get into the point of understanding what happens when your basic instincts kick in and how your body works. So babies have survival skills, okay? And these are your basic things. The next is group or tribal. And you see a lot of that right now, okay? And group or tribal, the focus is on the group, not on individuals. So it's all about the group. It's mass mentality, okay? Gangs are part of it, protests, sporting events, group mentality. My household's unique, okay? The football, we've got 2 Giants fans and 1 Eagles fan in the household. So certain times there's a little bit of shouting and you know, fun things. But if you want to know about group mentality, wear a Giants jersey into Eagles Stadium and see what happens. It's not pleasant. So it's one of those things that people fall into group mentality without thinking about it. They really do. Power mode. Now, many of you are going to see bosses and other family members in the power mode. They need to control. There was some of the security we were talking about before about people's needs. They can exploit just to get the power. They're living in ego, okay? Living in ego is a major problem in today's society. That's why people think they're better than everybody else. Okay, conquerors live in power mode. Celebrities, a lot of them crave the attention and the power, okay? Bullies. Then you have the order and absolute. You're going to recognize people like this too, okay? It's all about the laws. It's all about the rules, okay? School, all about the rules. Government, clubs, got to follow the rules. Social media, wow. You can get booted off of social media for not following the rules right now, right? And the authority structure is to use to control the absolute. Okay, that means that it doesn't matter. You can't deviate. Even if it makes sense, you can't deviate because this is the rule. It could be the most stupid rule in the world, but you have to follow the rules. So when somebody of power starts dealing with somebody of order and absolute, the power person can get very frustrated because the person of order and absolute is using rules and facts to prove a point when the power person generally is in ego, and that causes problems. And religion's all about order and absolute, okay? And I'm not saying spirituality, I'm talking about religions, because you will do this or this will happen to you, okay? Achievement or drive, okay? Success is the motivator. Materialism, status, perception of hierarchy, and it's just a perception of hierarchy. Social classes. Geez, how do we create the divide in the country? We highlight a lot of this. Then you have the socially conscious people, okay? They're out for connection. They're sharing feelings, sense of community. They're caring. Integrated is where you can actually have the ability to move from one level to another. So that means that if you need to talk to somebody about the rules, you know that you have to put facts together and show them the details so that they can make the decision or have the understanding of that you want them to have. Okay, but integrated, you have empathy for others. You have the ability to detach from the emotional side while feeling the empathy. So that means in order to really live a more fulfilling life, you know these people that suck the life out of you, okay? They sit there and you're always drama. They're the drama kings and queens. They want you to attach your emotions to their drama because it's their way of actually controlling you. Well, you can understand what they're going through, but don't attach your feelings to it. And then you will do better. I call it detachment with empathy. So if you learn to detach from other people's emotions and empathize with where they are and what they're going through, you will find that you don't get sucked into their drama. Very hard with family members, just so you know. People are understanding that are in the integrated. They have acceptance of other views, okay? So if you think you are a socially conscious person or an integrated person and you hate somebody, you are not, okay? Most likely you're in the group mentality because you're part of a group that hates the other people because you put them in that box that we talked about before. Okay, you may not agree with somebody's views. Everybody has a right to their own views. They have a right to make their own mistakes. They have a right to have their own lessons, and they have a right to be responsible for themselves. And when we take these rights away, it causes issues. Okay, and if you're integrated, you have the ability to be yourself and accept others to just be themselves. That's very hard, especially when the person is doing something negative and bad and hurting people. We can step in and help somebody, okay? But then we have to understand that this other person has their own issues. We don't hate them. We know that they're going to be taken care of karmically in another way. Okay, the next is an awakened soul. Now, this is the level of the beginning of the high spirit levels. We cannot sustain living here because we're in the physical planes. When we leave the body, then we will go to the higher levels. But to be an awakened soul, you can get there through meditation. You can get there through soul travel. You can get there through dreams, but you can't sustain it while here because you have these physical emotions that we must deal with. It's a knowingness. It's an understanding. It's understanding that everything is where it needs to be at this moment. And when you look at the negative things, excuse me, in the world, it's very hard to understand that they're happening so that positive things can happen also. Because negative things are a lesson which brings positive things in the future. Understanding of everything, and it's the love of everyone is searching for. So everybody's looking for that absolute feeling of total love. Well, it's hard to come by here. You get blips of it. It comes and goes, and you have pieces of it and all that, because life keeps on coming and going, and we all suffer through it. So that is that. And let's share the screen one more time. Let's see if I can find my pyramids. Bear with me. Is this my pyramid? No. All right. Full screen. Let's find my other one. I was going to show you the pyramids that I have set up on my screen, but I actually have to go onto my screen. And I apparently did not open it up. So it's not there. So let me pause. All right, I'm back. Sorry about that. technical difficulties. So when we look at the way this is, so you can see how the different levels of consciousness move up. So you start with the basic, and keep in mind that when, like I said, you could be protesting for the best cause in the world and thinking you're socially conscious. If you do not accept the other person's point of view, you're in the group or tribal, because you're just working in mass mentality. You're not allowing people to be themselves. And when we control people, we are creating negative karma for ourselves. And just a quick glimpse for the future. Okay, these are the spiritual planes. And the awakened soul is the tip of the awakened soul is right where it says consciousness and awakening and self-realization. Okay, they're the different planes, but we're down on the physical world, and that's where we're stuck with the passions, time, space, greed, lust, ego, anger, and we're self-absorbed. But we will get into the different planes and what they do and the sounds and all that at a future date. This is a lot to cover for some of you, and not everybody will hear it. Because basically we hear what we need to hear and what we're ready to hear. I once made a statement in front of 45 people, and one person actually heard it, the person that needed to hear it. And you will meet him in the future. He's a good friend of mine now. We didn't know each other at that time, but that's how we got into things. I will share some of my life experiences in the future, but this is a new way of looking at the world and people. So I'm going to go now. I want you to think about how you perceive yourself. And if you think of yourself in a positive light, or if you think of yourself in a negative light, and if you wonder why you're here, okay, we're here to grow. We're here for lessons, and we're here to help our fellow man. So everywhere you go, think of the other person and try to make their day a little brighter. And as you do that, you will see that your days are getting a little bit brighter. So peace be with you, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye.